Hello, everyone. This is Reno, the producer. Today's podcast is similar to the one we had last week about boot camp, but I'm going to interview people again, and I'm just going to play a speech that was made, and I'm going to play some little snippets of things that I recorded. There's a lot of machinery noises, generators running in the background, whatnot. I did my best with that. So it sounds mediocre, but please just enjoy the content. What else? There's also some cheers. I enjoyed the cheers. We get to hear Brandon talk again. Lots of good stuff, so stay tuned.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
The ball around. Just your name and yell if that's all right. So it's 100% projection. You want us to tell you what our name is first? Yeah, your name and yell. We're Team Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds! 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds!
Are you ready?
Yeah.
So me and Nate talked about this when I dropped off his vest last week, and I think what's most effective about it is it tears you down to your basics, gets you back to just how to be a team player and how to delegate stuff when, you feel like you can't handle everything. Gotta step back, take a breath, and realize who has what strong suits and to effectively be a good team leader. I think that's what makes it the most effective, is that it does tear you down to your basics, all the way back down to fundamentals. I like that. Thank you. Yep.
Effective. Well, it's effective in a way that I've actually got the opportunity to learn something that I would never learn out there in the field, and actually get to work at it. I actually enjoyed it. It's a good experience. And like I said, it's something that I would never see out there in the field. I've been out there for 15 years and I never got the opportunity. So right now is just taking advantage of it, and I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thing is, 2 claps for Ric Flair. That's how I get attention. Okay, so when I say 2 claps for Ric Flair, I want. Woo! Well, yeah. Yeah, here we go. Just stop.
So I'm trying to think of why boot camp has been effective for me. I can't say much about why, as far as how education goes and why people learn things better than others. The only thing I can say for me is that when I'm put in a situation where I'm at a higher stress level and I'm forced to learn something in a way that is at an accelerated time, then my brain tends to work faster. I tend to think of the best way to do things. I'm forced to ask other people the questions. And I think the thing for me is working in a higher stress environment. I noticed that I retain things a little more quickly, and that I'm able to put it into practice. For me, like visualizing things and doing things with my hands helps my brain to just remember things a lot more easily. So
6 feet apart.
This in particular, the way that this is set up is
Regulation.
I'm learning things as I'm doing them. I can read about it in a book and I won't learn it nearly as well as if I'm having to do it at the same time. So the boot camp for me is very much around learn it, do it, and practice it, and then QC it. And that's the way it is in the real world. So you may as well learn it here.
Agree.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things you learned? Oh, that no matter how right you think you are, or how good you think you got at doing something, you could still make a mistake.
Yep.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I got to tell you, when I was looking out, though, at times it didn't look very fun for you. So, in my opinion, what does that tell us about our energy?
Well, stay up.
Yeah, it's got to stay up, right? Like, we can always have fun.
No matter what the problem is, you've got to find the fun in it. Because if we're not finding fun, why are we here? Right? We've got to find that fun. We've got to get over those levels of stress, and how we deal with it is by finding what we're learning. I'm saying I'm learning. That's a positive, right? And keeping that attitude up. It sucks, but I learned something. Right? What else? What else about today? And I'm not afraid of silence.
Here.
Yeah.
So, today I learned
How for granted I take survey and FE roles inside of the organization.
It's true. It is very
true. They do a lot for us, and I'm grateful for them now.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to have them around here. But if we had to do all this by ourselves, oh boy, we'd get good, but how long from conditioning that into actually get the coding going first?
like, in my mind, that goes to show that, it takes everybody. And I think that's that is one of the important parts about what we do. All the buildings that we put together takes everybody. From a laborer who may be just sweeping a floor, to a carpenter who's putting together forms, to just everybody on the job, right? It all works together. We're like a big old anthill. Okay? What else? Trying to apply it on this side. And this.
All the notes, all the double checks that you think sometimes they're like overdoing it, they're not that important, and then it comes to show you why take all those proper steps, even though it takes 3 times as long, or it just takes a lot longer. It gets frustrating, but at the end of the day, when you see that number matching, that's the best feeling right there, man. Amen.
Yep.
I just want to tack onto that. There are a lot of best practices that we're promoting, and people are just like, that is long. Why are you taking so long to do that, to get this benchmark over here transferred, to get some control in the right area, to reset a grid line? But this is why that it's so easy to create mistakes, but doing the real due diligence and hitting those best practices right means that you proceed correct with the right data, period. And it's just the right way to spend your time. The worst way is in rework, and it'll be so much more time doing it that way. And I think you guys are really seeing that.
Yep. Very nice. So easy to make mistakes, little ones turn into big ones. Anybody else?
I got one.
Go, Greg.
I was really impressed today with everyone's efforts on lift drawings. The 3 boot camps that I've been a part of, today was by far the lift drawings were better than I've seen. And the effort that you took to get them there was pretty awesome. So well done on that. It was great to see you guys not give up. There was a lot of red lines that you had to fix. There was a lot of times you had to print it over and over and go back and redo it. And you kept at it. Well done. I thought that was well done.
We had one more comment.
Yeah, it's knowing that we can depend on our teammates. We can do pretty much all the hard days like this. It take a lot, but as long as we're together, we can get through it.
Yeah. Widen that circle, right? Yeah. Somebody knows. Somebody knows the answer to what you're looking for. Right? Brandon and I had that discussion earlier. I'm not the person that knows what's going on behind the gun. I'm just not. It's not something I spend a lot of time with. And so some of you learned that today when you asked me a question. I said, huh? Right? And I appreciate you asking. But the truth of the matter is we have resources. Brandon's a great one. Colby, Sean, right? Chris was a great one today. And so reach out to those that know.
And kudos to those of you who, again,
said, I have no idea what I'm doing, and just kind of threw it out there on the table and trusted in other people to be patient with that. I really am impressed when they do that. That happened a couple times today, and those people who did that got the help they needed and moved forward. So great job on there. I still think the best thing a field engineer can do is just say, hey, I'm struggling, and leverage the resources they have and ask 3, 4, 5, 6, as many questions as they work. When we tell people to figure it out, we never mean by themselves. That's one thing I'd like everyone to leap with. When we tell field engineers to figure it out, we never meant by themselves.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, any other comments, reflections on today?
I have a couple.
Yeah.
We ran into a couple problems early on our thing, and our team didn't flinch. They just kind of kept, all right, let's just deal with it. Let's just go for it. And I think there was initially like, oh crap, we have to do this again, or oh, we have to do this extra thing. But like within a few seconds, like, all right, let's do it. Let's get on it. And that was impressive. And I tend to want to stay stuck sometimes, and to see other people just move on that quickly, it just motivated me to do the same. And then I thought it was really cool that we got some other FEs and supers out here and kind of out here helping us and asking how we're doing and how it's going. And I think it's just kind of cool to see that supporting us, not just the people here, and it's not just a program to get through. It's like a family, or a brotherhood, or to get to support from outside of here too. That was kind of cool to see.
I think brotherhood's a good word for it. Because honestly, I feel like those that went through boot camp with me are brothers, right? When we see each other, we support each other and give each other effort. Thank you for sharing that. And hopefully you come out of this the end of tomorrow or Saturday, whichever, if you can make your core tomorrow. If you don't come out that way, it's because you didn't put in the effort. So anyway, okay. Any other thoughts or comments? Go ahead, Colby.
A few of us were talking about universities earlier and how some of the schools are not necessarily great anymore. I went to a school, it was fine. 4 years, it was a good experience, but honestly, what you guys are going through right now over the last 3 days and tomorrow and the next day, I feel like you're taking your education to the next level, and you're learning far more in these days here at boot camp than weeks or even months at a school. Like this experience, hands-on, learning the technical things, learning the leadership skills and everything that you've gone through already last week. It's just leaps and bounds of what you possibly could be doing at a school. So that's shout out to Jason, Brandon, these other guys that have helped put this together. They're good, but you guys are putting it together for yourselves too and learning. So really hands off to everybody.
Baptism by fire is some of the best learning. And that's what we get here. So,
and the reason I think it's so impactful is because it's contextual. When we learn stuff in a classroom, it's like, let's learn this. And then the next day. So if anybody's heard my podcast about the 7-lesson school teacher, I don't know, Colby, if you hit that one yet or not. In school, we're taught disconnection. We're taught the disconnection of things, the unrelating of subjects, the lack of context. And in boot camp, that's all it is how does one thing tie to a next? How does the lift drawing tie to actually being able to build how does figuring out the coordinates tie into traversing? How does traversing tie into radial staking? How does radial staking tie into baselines? How do baselines tie into batter boards? Like everything is the teaching of the connectedness of it all. Everything is the teaching of the context of it all. And so hopefully, even if you don't remember, I don't remember the buttons on lift drawings, the most important thing is when you're a superintendent or a lead field engineer or whatever, that you can say, I know step 1 is to go figure out the drawings. I know step 2 is to identify the coordinates. I know step 3 is in step 4 and step 5 and step 6. If you at least know the steps, you can broker in the information like these guys are saying for the specifics.
And I would add to that at least you understand what level of effort is that task, what time frame roughly is that task, because you have, some inkling of what it takes. So not just knowing the steps in a checklist, but you're like, this is a level of effort, and so I need to start thinking about how much time might be allocated to making sure that task gets the attention that it needs.
I think that's great, Brandon. I think that's a perfect segue actually into what I'd like to talk about tonight. And that has to do with our standardization of time and what we do with our days, right? Because we only have so much time in the day. My question I want to ask to you guys is how much or how well do you feel like you did today with managing your time and effort?
I think that's a canister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did need patient would help it all. Just understand where everybody that what tasks are being completed and just keeping up to date with our board and what we need to do. So everybody's on the same page and we know what our objective is and what the priorities are at the meeting.
Okay. Any other comments on that? How you felt like today went? As far as a planned out day.
I just added that. I think it can so quickly become dismantled and unorganized with a lack of communication and focus, because you get stuck with the task that you're wanting, and we kind of ran into the same issues when we were planning all this last week. And we tend to focus on our direct responsibility and forget to communicate what we're doing along the way. And with that, you kind of don't notice it happening because everyone's so focused on the task that they're doing. And by the time you're like, holy cow, look what time it is. Look what's gotten done. Look at all the stuff that still needs to get done. Where you can back that up and constantly communicate on who's doing what, how the progress is going, and making sure that you're hitting checkpoints along the day. I think something that would have really benefited our team is just to have spit out check-in points at certain times of day where it doesn't matter what you're doing, what task, set a timer on your phone, check in with the rest of the team, make sure that everything's going on. So that way, yeah, you can communicate if you decide that point, but you at least have those dedicated checkpoints with, hey, this is the process I'm in. This is where I'm at with it. This is what I'm expecting to be done. These are the challenges that I'm having. Hopefully they're reaching out before when they have challenges, but at least it gives an opportunity where if someone is so focused on what they're doing to forget to ask, that it gives them that opportunity automatically. So I think that's something that could have really helped, but hindsight's always 20/20. Yeah. So I think I just can't stop taking away awesome learning experiences through failing forward to this camp. It's a priceless activity.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Adam, one of the things that I enjoyed, but also didn't really enjoy today was having to build that lift drawing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I sat there for hours this morning. I felt like I was just wasting my time because I was like, I can't believe I can't get this. And then towards the end, I went and showed Sean. I was like, all right, you're the last person that has to sign this off, and so I can move forward with this thing. And there was one mistake, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I have to go all the way back up there. I got to fix this mistake, and then I got to go reprint it, and then I got to come back down and make sure it's all checked off again. And then I thought about it, and I was like, but now I don't have a question in my head of that it is correct. And for me at that moment, it was like, even though I might have spent a lot more time than I would have or wanted to really spend on it, it was so much more beneficial for me to make sure that it was done correctly than like what Brandon was talking about, where going through and having to rework things. Because I still have questions on that lit drawing that I'm still finding out things about. And the more and more that I'm learning, the more and more grateful I am that, there are people around that have answers, and I don't have to sit there and try to figure it out by myself, because if that was the case, I'd still be up there trying to figure out that freaking lift drawing. Right. And so, I don't know. I thought it was just good that, without a doubt, that I knew that it was done, it was complete, and I didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. I'm glad you figured it out.
Yeah, me too.
You'll keep working on it. Thanks, Sam.
I think some of the hindsight is looking at last week, and if we were to put a full 100% on having everything fully checked off and more hustle in asking those questions, failing faster, getting those answers done, it would have given us more time today, and we could have been out here struggling through this stuff for another 2 hours or so, which would have left us in a lot better position at the end of the day. So just kind of looking back, knowing that no matter what step you are in the process, you have to give that full 100%, because you don't know what the next step is going to come in. You don't know what struggles you're going to run into and how you're going to push that time, or, run into your end time frame, your cutoff zone. So I think fully giving your 100% at every single step and doing as best you can, as quick as you can, and move on to the next one, I think that's a big thing for me.
Awesome. Thank you. What that reminded me of was the envelope game. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have done that, but that's what that reminded me. Okay. Well, what I wanted to give a little talk about today is about our standardization of our day. Okay. Because that's really what plans out the day. And I want to talk about routines. Okay. How many of us have a good morning routine? Yeah. Right now, honestly, my routine is lacking. Okay. Well, let me tell you where I was and where I want to get back to. So my morning, I focus on controlling the morning. Okay. So I would be up at 3:45 at the gym. At 3:45, I would be working out. At 4:30, I'd be done, and I'd be at work by 5:15, 5:30. Okay. At which point, I would do 10 pages at minimum of a personal development book. From that point, I would move into reading the drawings, studying some drawings. Then I would move to my checklist, my to-do list. Okay. How many of you use to-do list on your phone? If you don't, I highly recommend you download the app and put it on your phone. Check off what you have to get done. I set myself at least 5 activities that day that have to be done. At that point, I get into my meetings for the day. Know where I have to be so I'm not late for those meetings. That is my morning. If I know where I'm supposed to go, what activities I'm supposed to get done for that day, I'll fight like hell to make sure it happens. Right? So, for example, today, if we had come in here today and each one of you had set 5 tasks that you had to get done for your team in order for the whole team to progress, how many of you would have gotten those tasks done? Probably all of you, right? But how many of us today struggled with what's my next step, right? Or what am I supposed to be doing? I think a lot of us did. I did, and I'm not even doing the work, right? I was out here thinking to myself, okay, who am I going to help next? What do I do next, right? But that wasn't the case, right? No, that was my case. Anyway, moving on. So use a to-do list. Control your morning. If you can establish that morning task list and make it every day, you're winning, right? You win every time you do those few things. And by 7 o'clock, you've already won the day because you've created a list and you've already studied drawings and you know where you're supposed to be for the day. Okay. Then comes the chaos, right? And everybody starts coming to you with problems. How many of us get 50 questions in the first hour of work? Everybody's. Okay? So if you don't have a plan in your morning, when those questions start coming and you start trying to put out fires, you're done for. You won't get a single task off that list today. Okay? So control the chaos. Control the chaos throughout the day. If somebody can find an answer through somebody else or through the drawings, did they look in the drawings? Did they look in the specifications? Did they talk to their PM or their superintendent, right? If you can push them in that direction to have them learn for themselves, right? You're creating a standard for them and for yourself of you can find the answer as well. You may have the answer, but they can also find it. Okay? Exhaust their resources first. That way you can keep going with your to-do list. Okay? So control the chaos throughout the day. Make your meetings and go forward. Okay? Then comes the evening. Now, the evening is when you're supposed to love life. Right? When you go home in the evening time, it's your time to love life. Because don't just think this is about work. The standardization of the day. When you go home, you standardize the love for your wife or your spouse, your children, and the other things that are important to you, your hobbies, right? Whatever they may be. You create time for those things. You should also have that on a to-do list. Put it on there. I'm going to tell my wife I love her 5 times today. I'm going to read a book. Actually, it's on my list every night. Read a book with my kid. Right? I don't always get to it, but it's on my list. And I feel bad every time I don't get done. Okay? So standardization of your day is so important. Because in reality, we preach to you guys quality. We preach to you guys to push and push and push and be perfect. And that's what we're striving for. But when you're off the wall here and off the wall there, it's really difficult to be perfect. It's really difficult to do a task perfectly when you're not practicing it. Right? So remember, as you're standardizing your day, as you're finding your organizational routes or mediums, continue to practice it and get so boring with it that it's mundane and monotonous, because then you will become perfect at it. When it becomes so monotonous and so thoughtless that it just actually happens, you'll continue to move forward, and then you move on to the next thing that just makes you better. So remember, as you standardize, just keep driving at it. Keep driving at it. Okay? Let me look at my notes here.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.